Hi guys, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Kyra, and here on my channel, we're all about real makeup for real life and real people like us. If you are new here, a special welcome to you. I hope you'll consider subscribing today before you leave if you like what you see, and then you'll be able to find my videos more easily on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and some Sundays when I upload. So today's video is a full face of E.L.F. Some of these products are new, some of these aren't, but I have some new goodies to share with you and some old favorites to share with you as well. So this was a little bit of a longer video, so I hope you'll enjoy that, sort of that laid back, just trying out some new makeup vibe. And with all that said, let's get into it. All right, let's get some makeup on the face. The first thing I have is this primer. I'm very intrigued. It's the Mint Melt Cooling Face Primer. It says this unique jelly texture works like glue to grip makeup to ensure it stays put. Its minty fresh skin loving ingredients will give you a refreshing cooling sensation infused with hyaluronic acid and antioxidants. Your skin will be looking and feeling its very best. I've heard people reference this one in terms of being similar to like the Milk Hydro Grip primer. I was just very intrigued. Doesn't go in with one pump. Looks like the Milk Hydro Grip primer. I'm going to go in with one pump here and see. Nice vanilla mint scent. Definitely sticky, which I have not. I believe I tried the Milk Hydro Grips like in a foil sample at some point. Now you can hopefully see how sticky it is. And it just says that you're supposed to wait about 30 seconds before applying the rest of your makeup, which I will do. It does have a nice light cooling sensation, which I enjoy. I'm excited to see how I feel about the tackiness. And for that reason, because I do kind of want to do an initial wear test, I'm going to be wearing my Missha BB cream today because this is my favorite foundation. I know how it applies. I know how it typically works with other products that I use. So I just decided to use this today. And also, because I don't have an E.L.F. foundation, I'm really trying to keep my foundation purchases to a minimum this year until I work through some. So I just took a little bit of shade 23 and a little bit of shade 27. And this is how I always apply this BB cream. I just love the way it looks when applied with the warmth of my fingers. It doesn't feel sticky going over the primer. Like I don't feel any more stickiness coming from the primer. It feels really smooth, which is cool. I'm all about finding new primers, and two of my favorite primers currently are from E.L.F. It is the Matte Putty Primer and the Oil Control Primer Mist. So then once I get that all worked into the skin with my fingers, I just like to go back over with a sponge. This one happens to be the E.L.F. Total Complexion Sponge, which is pretty nice as sponges go. Now for concealer, this is not a new product to me, but it might be to you. It is the E.L.F. HD Lifting Concealer. I have mine in the shade Light. This was a free gift with purchase when I had made an E.L.F. order previously, and I really like this concealer actually. It is a light coverage concealer, so if the camo concealers or what have you are a little too full coverage for your preference, as they are for my preference, especially for under the eye, this is a beautiful light to medium coverage concealer. It's very hydrating, and I just love the way it looks under the eyes. I can't even believe it. I will say I don't think there's a ton of product in here. I mean, I've used it a decent amount, but I've definitely seen windows in the product already, so I'd have to assume you don't get that much, but that's okay. It's very inexpensive. I think this one is $3, so yeah, I actually think that looks beautiful under the eyes. I mean, it's not going to cover up all your sins, but it's definitely a good day-to-day concealer for me. To set it all into place, one of my current favorite products from E.L.F. is the E.L.F. Halo Glow Setting Powder. I have mine in light pink. Maybe not the best shade for me personally, but it still works. It's just that I have a very warm undertone. So something with a warmer undertone or more translucent would probably be better. I used this almost exclusively 1 month for my Shop My Stash, and I just really enjoyed it. Let's set the under eyes. I don't know that I've tried it on the under eyes. This is the E.L.F. Small Tapered Brush. I do have some E.L.F. brushes that are actually a part of my absolute daily routine. My E.L.F. blush brush, my E.L.F. complexion brush, my E.L.F. ultimate blending brush. That actually looks really nice under the eyes. This is just an overall beautiful powder. It's called Halo Glow. I wouldn't say, I mean, like if you would swatch it on your hand, I don't think you would even be able to tell, but I just think overall this is like a nice setting powder. You'll see that it will set my makeup, but without losing the glow that comes from the products underneath and, you know, whatever magic is in this powder. Before we go any further, I want to try this E.L.F. Tinted Lip Oil. I did pick up the shade Nude Kiss. Just thought we'd let this marinate on the lips while we do the rest of the face. It's a pretty color. I could see it being like a nice purse thing. Feels nice. Not too thin. I don't like anything that's too thin that feels real oily. This does feel like an oil, but it feels a little bit thicker than that, somewhere between an oil and a gloss, but that is very enjoyable. So for bronzer, I'm going to go in with an oldie but a goodie, and it is the E.L.F. Primer Infused Bronzer. I picked up the shade, or I have had the shade forever, Sunkissed, and I really enjoy this bronzer. I remember not thinking it was anything special when I bought it the first time. I've told that story before. I passed it on to my stepmom and then kept hearing people talking about it and bought it again. This, by the way, is the E.L.F. complexion brush. High recommendation from Emily Noel, and I think it's amazing. I love this for really any step of powder product. You could use it for powder, you could use it for bronzer, as I do frequently, almost every day. This is one of my favorite bronzer brushes. Slightly pinched at the ferrule, but very fluffy, and I love this brush. You can definitely use it for blush. It's just a lovely, lovely brush. Look how beautiful this side looks versus this side. I love it. And I do love the Primer Infused line because they are longer lasting, and with my combo to oily skin, sometimes things can disappear from my face as my oils come out to play. So, all right, I already feel the color and the life coming back into the skin. And for highlight, I want to use this. And I almost never pull this out. I've had this for like some time, and it is the E.L.F. Glow Gleam Beam highlighter palette. This right here is a complete glitter bomb. If you want a dupe for the Fenty Beauty like glitter bomb highlighter, that's the one right there. I love this highlighter right here though, and I think this might be a good candidate for today. I think I'll use my E.L.F. small taper brush again and pick that up. And this is a pretty natural highlight. Some of the ones on the bottom are more of like strobing highlights, and they are pretty too. I need to like really dig deep into this palette at some point. And it's nice to have like this little selection of highlighters, and there's nothing in here that I wouldn't use in terms of shades or that I couldn't use. I do believe they have a darker version of this as well, which I think is awesome. And then for blush, holy moly, do I have some selection here. So the first thing I had to pick up, one of the things I've been trying to find in store anywhere where they sell e.l.f. is this little guy right here. This is a Hannah Louise Poston and Emily Noel made me buy it. It's the e.l.f. Active Workout Ready Lip and Cheek Palette. Sounds very, I don't know, like stupid. Workout ready makeup. It does have this little tiny brush in here, which I suppose you could use as a lip brush. I probably will throw it away, but this is what the inside palette looks like, and it is so pretty. This shade right here absolutely would be a bronzer for me. These beautiful, like one a little more rosy, one a little bit more bronzy blushes, and then this highlight is just so pretty. It's just light and pearly. And then the other thing I picked up, so let me know if you want to see these in upcoming videos or something like that, or I could do an IG reel if you really want. But next I have the Putty Blush from e.l.f. in the shade Bali. They had a lot of nice shades in these putty blushes. I got this one because I think it is unique to my collection, and it is. It's really pretty. This is what it looks like. And so I'm excited to try that one at some point. But for today, this little stinker was hard to track down too. The only place I could find it was on e.l.f.'s website. It is one of their primer infused shimmer blushes. And this is the shade Always Hazy. And every time I see someone use this, I'm like, where can I get this stinking blush? So that is what it looks like, just like the bronzer. But this is the shade. I think this is stunning. When I swatched this yesterday, which is all I've done with these, I've only swatched these, I haven't tried any of these on, I was like, holy moly, that is something special right there. That is definitely something I don't already have in my collection. So, surprise, this is the one I want to use today. So, taking one of my absolute favorite blush brushes from e.l.f., it's just the blush brush. It is pinched at the ferrule and it is paddle shaped. And I do use this blush brush almost every day. So I'm going to try and start my blush further back. I think it's more flattering to my face shape and, you know, keeps my skin like at a lift. That has a beautiful sheen. And it doesn't appear, I mean, I'll have to look at it in natural lighting, but it doesn't appear to be emphasizing any texture on my skin, and that is one of the biggest problems that I have with shimmery blushes. I will say this picks up a ton of product with a light dip in, which was not the case with the matte primer infused blushes. This would be such a beautiful, like, nude everyday blush. You know, if you're somebody that just really doesn't like a huge selection, you just want one or two blushes that kind of go with everything, this would be fantastic. All right, so yeah, whew, I love that blush. That is a stunner. And especially because I don't feel like it adds texture to my cheeks. I'm very excited. So now what I'm gonna do is go ahead and do my brows. And I'm using both e.l.f. products today. I'm gonna speed through this or skip it over. But the first one I have is the Instant Lift Brow Pencil. I have the shade Neutral Brown. This is like a bigger pencil, and I actually kind of like this, especially on days where I just like can't be bothered to do my brows. And then I also have the e.l.f. Wow Brow, and this really is a standout product from the brand for me. It really just coats the brows, and it finds brows that I really didn't know that I had, to be honest. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill in my brows and set them into place with the Wow Brow, and then we will get on to eyeshadow, And I'm going to put on some eyeshadow base before I do my brows. BRB. All right, we are back and the brows are done. I love this brow look. It's light, it's fluffy, it's everyday. It's not too polished. Perfect. We are ready for eyeshadow. I did go ahead and prime my lids with my MAC Paint Pot and Painterly. I'm attempting to get more use out of it this month. And I did pick up the two Mint Melt quads from E.L.F. This one is meant to be. It's all green in here. And then this second one is chocolate mint. And it's more neutral with a pop of mint. I will say upon swatching these yesterday that these two shimmers right here don't feel like the shimmers and the other bite-sized quads that I have, which are Pumpkin Pie and Rosewater. These do. So I think this will be interesting. And I'm going to try and combine them best I can. But I think I will go ahead and start things off in the crease with this shade right here from the Chocolate Mint palette. I just picked that up with my Fluffy. I do have some E.L.F. eyeshadow brushes, but not as many as I used to. And there's nothing at all wrong with the E.L.F. eyeshadow brushes. I used them for quite some time. I still have some, but I do have, you know, some nicer brushes now that I really enjoy and have just gotten used to using, like this one from Delium Tools. I really love these brushes. Now I'm going to go ahead and go into this deeper brown. Am I? Yes. And I'm going to apply this to the outer V of my lid here. I'm going to start by bringing it down at an angle along the upper lash line. And then start blending it up toward the crease. And I just really like this. This tends to help me accomplish the perfect angle and placement of my deeper shade. And it just takes a little building at times. Going back in the original Fluffy with the original camel shade here. And just blend. And I'm just going right over top of what's in my crease. And I think that will help us blend a little. And these are blending out really beautifully. Like I said, you know, I have to build up the deeper shades and blend, but that's how I prefer to do my eyeshadow. I prefer to go in small layers and blend along the way versus going in very heavy off the bat. Where to start with these beautiful shimmer shades? I don't know. I think I'm gonna go ahead and start with this mint green from the Chocolate Mint palette. Ooh, that's pretty. And like I said, these shadows in this palette definitely feel more like the shadows from the original bite-size eyeshadow release. It's a really pretty color. I'm so into mint right now. I have a beautiful mint shade that I picked up from Sydney Grace. Oh, so pretty. Okay, I love that. Very easy to apply. And I'm not going to worry too much on that shade to make it super opaque because I do want to try one of the shades out of the other palette just for comparison's sake. And I'm going to place it over top of this green one, over part of it anyway. So the one I would really like to try out of this quad is this one right here. I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but this is very chunky and not so smooth. So I picked a good amount of that up on my brush, and I'm going to take the lid off and spray. And then I'm going to use a pressing motion, and I'm going to place this in the middle of my lid. It's definitely more chunky. Okay, I'm going to pick a little bit more up. Brush is already wet. See if we can build it. Yeah, I would definitely say spray your brush or use a glitter glue. whatever your preference is. I typically go with a glitter glue myself, but I think this one probably works best with a wet brush. Just my gut. It is so chunky, you guys. And if you're new to my channel, I do always come back and rank recent purchases at some point. So these will definitely show up there. Lastly, but certainly not leastly, I'm going to go into this vanilla shade for my inner corner. And this is a really beautiful shade. Boy, you could very easily get just a completely neutral look out of this palette if you wanted to. And I definitely prefer the shades in here versus the Cream and Sugar quad. I ended up decluttering that one. I just wasn't a fan of the tones. Okay, I'm gonna quick throw on a little bit of this brown liner from Wet n Wild and curl my lashes, and then we will talk about an E.L.F mascara. And then I'm gonna take this Pixie Eye Bright liner in Nude on my lower inner rim, just wake things up a little bit. All right, so the mascara I'm using today is the E.L.F Lash It Loud Volumizing Mascara. I've really been enjoying this. I don't know how much volume I would say I get out of this, but I do like the length and separation of this mascara. I do like this silicone brush on here, even though I typically don't from other mascaras like these kind of silicone-y ones. Mostly because some of them are really pokey and I tend to get my upper lash line with them. And to be honest, the reason I say I don't see a ton of volume from this is because I will come back and do a second coat, which I almost never do. And even with a second coat, it's not too voluminous for me. Okay, so that is one coat with the mascara. I think it looks pretty nice. I would be happy to leave it here, especially for a more everyday look, but I'm just gonna show you how it builds just a little bit. But let's go ahead and do the lip. I finally picked up one of their SRSLY satin lipsticks, and I picked up the shade Taffy. I didn't want to pick up another nude. I have nudes upon nudes. But I thought this shade was really pretty and might be a beautiful shade for spring. Looks like this. Might be a little much with the eye look today, but that's okay. I'm gonna first line with my Milani Understatement lip liner in the shade Nude Entrance. And I feel like all of the lip oil has absorbed. So, SRSLY Satin Lipstick in the shade Taffy. Here we go. I really like the texture of this. It's really nice. As always, I kind of like to take a finger and press that down. Makes my lip lines less obvious, but it also just makes it look more even. I think that's really beautiful. What I'm gonna do is pop off of here, do something with my hair, add some jewelry, come back and give you some of my first impression thoughts on the new products that I tried today. Okay, so I just ended up taking my hair down and putting on some earrings, but I kind of like the way the hair looks, so this is how it's gonna stay. This was an interesting experience. I'm very excited and impressed with this Always Hazy blush. It's such a beautiful nude blush, so I'm very excited about that piece. With the mint palettes, if I had to pick only one to recommend to you, I would recommend the chocolate mint palette. I just think the textures are nicer. I didn't use the two mattes or the deeper shimmer in this palette, but the shimmers are just really chunky in here and more of like a topper type shadow in my opinion, and they would absolutely be best used either wet or over a sticky base, a very sticky base. I don't think I had too much fallout, but there's a little sparkle on my face, which is fine. The lip oil, very, very nice. In fact, let's put a little of this on over the lipstick. But it's very comfortable. I really like this formula. It's definitely a lip oil without being too oily or thin. And the Seriously Satin lipstick, very pleasantly surprised with the texture of this. It's very creamy. It's opaque pretty much on the first swipe. It doesn't emphasize my lip lines. The Putty Blush we didn't try today in the shade Bali is very pretty, a wee bit intimidating, but I don't get intimidated too easy. And that is what that shade looks like. Very sunburny, warm, sun-kissed. I'm very much looking forward to using this in summer and fall, though I'll try it before then. And then this E.L.F. Active Workout Ready Lip and Cheek palette that I had to have. And I do think this might be handy. Like, not for the gym, because I don't go to the gym. But I just think this would be a nice little something. You could easily get a full face, like of colored face products out of this, I think. You can see this has a nice little bit of a rosy tone blush. Definitely a good bronzer shade for me right there. And then more of a, what do you call it? Like a terracotta, rusty red. Again, kind of like the shade Bali. Just kind of more of a sunburny shade. But this one has a little more red, pink undertone to it. I do realize this is probably a very long video. If you did make it to the end, please leave me a sunshine emoji down in the comments below, and I'm sending you extra thanks today. But thank you to you for spending part of your day here with me today. I really appreciate your time. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you have any of these, or if you're looking to get in any of these, what are your thoughts on the products that I used today? And I hope all of your makeup days are absolutely beautiful makeup days, and I'll see you in my next video real soon.